That's another whole way I release the stress. I keep reminding myself I'm born worthy. God's proud of me because I'm showing up every day.
Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe.
I am always looking for individuals who have a unique perspective in terms of ways to really vibe in midlife. And of course, all of you know that vibe means to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered. And I love it when you have someone who's taken their sum total of experiences and wrapped it in a beautiful package that's going to be helping midlife women. And that definitely, I think, describes our guest today, Dr. Sue McCreadie. Dr. Sue, as she likes to be called, is a holistic pediatrician and a midlife transformation expert who helps women in their 40s and 50s and 60s to navigate hormones, heartbreak, and healing. I love that. So they can stop settling and start living with joy. Her mission? To make transformation simple, soulful, and even fun. And you mentioned also that actually you want women to be well so they can continue to be there for their children. So much for all the work you do. And thank you for being here in the V.I.B.E Living podcast. It's wonderful having you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lena. I love it. Vibe. I just love that. How is vibe better?
I don't because the whole thing came on one of those taking a walk out in nature, getting some fresh air, and feeling like I needed to do something else with my brand than what I was doing. And it just came together, probably just like your hormones, heartbreak, and healing kind of just came together. Given that, how did you go from being a holistic pediatrician, which I know you're still in practice, to midlife transformation expert? What's your story?
I did just that. I kept following the breadcrumbs, right? I kept following my heart, even though it didn't totally make sense as to what I was doing. So yes, I am a holistic pediatrician. My focus is on nutrition for kids. And so I've always been into health and wellness and nutrition. And I do that in my practice. And along the way, the moms were always like, what about me? Like, how can you help me? And so it became a journey of figuring out, how can I help you? Because I don't do physical medicine for adults at all. And so it was this journey of nutrition. I really focused on nutrition initially, and then evolving more in kind of the spiritual, mental, emotional realm and landing there because I love it. I love it. I think it's so fun. That says in one sentence, what took me about 15 years and 4 entrepreneurial businesses that I started and shut down for landing on soulful medicine. So actually, when it's right before I created Soulful Medicine, which is the coaching for midlife women, I actually put the whole thing down. I just said, I don't know, God, I don't get it. Like, I just don't know how to do this. Like, what I want to do, it's not vibing for what she wants. I can't go there with her. I can't meet her needs that way. And so I just said, I don't know. I don't know. And I just put it down. And it was actually like a big relief because I said, I'm just going to figure out this pediatric gig. It's really good. It fills my soul. I know I'm helping people. And just let the whole mom thing go, the women thing go. And then lo and behold, within a few weeks to a few months, there it is, a little breadcrumb in my inbox, right? And then I start following it. And it was this integration of, I was doing a lot of personal development myself, particularly with Tony Robbins. And I was realizing, hey, I'm good at this thing. This thing actually comes natural to me. And I really fell in love with helping people that way in Tony's world. And so I just said, okay, I guess this is what I'm up to. This is what I'm going to do. So that happened like a few years ago, and it's been a ride. It's been a joy. It's been fun. And that's the whole point to me is health can be fun. We can do deep healing work and we can laugh at ourselves. Fascination of human behavior. It can be light, even when we go through heavy emotions like grief, like we can feel those things and also come to the other side.
Yeah, you're right. Midlife is definitely, I don't even know. I struggle with saying midlife now because for me, I'm 68. So if I'm in midlife, I have to be, 136, which is
Linus, if I look like you in midlife, yeah,
You don't know what I call
I am vibing.
it. I'm thinking maybe third act or something. But either way it goes, we are at a stage of life where loss becomes a part of life as you begin to lose loved ones and even friends. And it puts a different kind of stress on you. Almost that stress of anticipation. I haven't gotten too bad yet that when the phone rings, I'm wondering if this is it. But I do brace myself sometimes when I haven't heard from someone after a while. It adds to my overall stress. And I'm wondering if this is true for other women when it comes to dealing with all the other stresses that comes with midlife. Because while those are happening, we still have goals and things that we need to achieve. We're still doing things, still wanting to live our lives. So how do we coexist with that? I know you've got some tips on how to help women achieve their goals without being so stressed out.
Yes. And let me ground that in some real life right now. I just lost my loss. My dad just passed.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And so I'm laughing because I've been processing this for a whole year. And I'm laughing because there are light moments when there's also really heavy moments. And I was just sharing with a friend earlier this morning, bawling, saying a couple things that you just touch upon. One is that grief, like I've never had this level of grief before. And this is all amongst life, right? Like you're saying, like I'm raising 3 kids. I have a couple of businesses. I'm married. There's a lot of life already happening. And I feel like stress comes if we resist.
Mhm.
If I resist, that's when I feel the stress. If I accept whatever it is, whether it's a huge, I really finally got the meaning of that wave of grief. I've had grief before with miscarriages, but I've never experienced a level of grief with losing my dad, though I like to rephrase that because I don't really feel like he's lost. Like he's somewhere. It's just that we're going to be connecting in a different way. So it does feel that way right now for me, though I know that it's not always going to feel that way. But yeah, if I don't resist it, if I just go through the wave, if I just feel all the feels with the tools that I use, then I can kind of come on the other side and integrate something. Because what I realize, even going through this process, I don't feel the same. And I don't think I'm supposed to feel the same. When your stress can like make you feel not grounded in a way. And you're like, I don't feel like myself. And today I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to feel like myself again. And that's a good thing. Like it's integration, it's evolution, it's evolving, right?
It's the acceptance of what's happened. And I certainly know what you're telling me.
Mhm.
When I was young, I was only 31.
Mhm.
It was an accident. It was a shock. She was hit by a fire truck on her way to work. And at that time, I had 3. One, I had just had a baby. She was like 5 or 6 weeks old. And then I had a 17-month-old and a 4-year-old. And I was married. They were working. And my father still had my sister, who's 15 years younger than me. She was still at home. She was 1 year away from being 18. And I had another sister who was in grad school who lived in Los Angeles. And it just fell onto me because I was the oldest to hold everybody together. So I never went through a real intense grieving process because we take care of my dad, my sisters, and still take care of my children.
Yeah.
A much longer time for me to process. And what happened to me as a result of not processing it and it being waylaid to almost like 25 years later, I developed an anxiety disorder. And it was based upon a couple of things, post-traumatic stress, but also my hormones, cortisol levels. No one
Yeah.
midlife or menopausal anxiety, but it is a thing. It's a real thing.
Oh, for real.
In fact, I've become an expert in it because I had to heal myself. That's how I got into this whole thing in the first place, trying to figure out how to heal myself without pharmaceutical. And along the way, that in midlife in particular, your hormones play a huge role in terms of how you encode stress or how stress impacts you. We don't realize that when we're under stress like that, or we may not even be thinking about the fact that our cortisol levels are rising, our estrogen levels are going down, and our progesterone is going wacky. and our happy hormones are non-existent because it's hard for them to coexist with a lot of cortisol. And we're wondering why we're breaking into tears and being depressed and all these different things. And back then, which was about 18 years ago or 20 years ago when I was first diagnosed, they were coming at me from the hormonal thing. Oh, antidote, you have a disorder, you take this, whatever it was they wanted to give me. And I took maybe 3 months of that. And then I was like, you know what, this doesn't feel right. Because the one day I ran out of it, I was so anxious about getting the prescription. And I thought, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. I'm stopping. And so that began my whole journey of living holistically and dealing with things from a mind, body, spirit perspective. And I love what you talk about when it comes to the overall mindset, because one of the things I really started working on was my mindset in terms of how I encode the world. And I'm happy to say that I'm about 98% anxiety free. It's hard not to be totally anxiety free these days, but I've come a long ways, and that's from dealing with things holistically. So, what is it that women need to be doing to still be able to be productive and achieve their goals, a life of their dreams, without stress being a factor?
Mm-hmm. Some of the things that you touched upon in your story, I see, right? In terms, like what you're saying is, I couldn't process this grief because I had things to do.
Exactly.
I remember being lying on my chiropractor's table, and I was like, I got shit to do.
That's right. There's no time for this.
There's no time for this.
It comes out in different ways later on.
Yeah. And he said, wow, I think you better really meditate on that one. And so I feel like for me, coming through into midlife has really been about slowing down, about taking time to be present to what is rather than like thinking about the next thing. So like when you're saying about like goals and not being stressed with goals, right? I feel like I came from the medical world, which is very masculine energy, very like 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, go get it done, check it off, go. And so to me, I really had to start unwinding from that and start balancing being and doing. So I was really just so focused on doing. It was like I was always looking for the next thing to do. And that is it feels like a treadmill. All I look at is the gap of what's not there. And so it's just like I'm on a treadmill to get the next thing done versus being present and focusing on what's already here.
And what is going right. Doing, because I say that all the time, that we get so busy being human doings that we have to stop and just be a human being. We're just always on that treadmill all the time. And our society here in the United States in particular, that's how we're rigged. We work more than anyone else. We don't take long vacations. We go back to work after having a baby, in many cases, sometimes as early as 6 weeks. There's just this ongoing thing, thinking that this is what's going to help us achieve the American dream. But I don't know about that. I think it's more like the American nightmare these days in terms of not sure if that's really what we call life of our dreams.
I think our culture, like the American culture that I grew up in, doesn't really ritualize any of this. There is no ritual. So you've developed your toolbox. I've developed my toolbox. And interestingly enough, like we've got a lot of tools and healthy tools in that toolbox now. But my brain, a couple of days ago, when I felt this wave of grief, the first thing I wanted to do, Linus, I was like, I just get to go veg out in front of TV. Right. And then I'm like, wait a minute. What if instead I go meditate? I go process through this guided meditation to process through this emotion. And I did a surrender meditation. And my dad showed up and I was like, oh, it was just, and I thought, wow, that just allowed, I always think of emotion as energy in motion. It wants to move. So if we just allow it to move through us and really feel it. Yeah, instead of trying to resist it and stuff it in there.
When we do that, it just like the famous book, the body keeps the score. The more we shut our emotions down and don't allow ourselves to, as you say, move through them, be present in that, they sit in our body. And the next thing you know, you've got other issues that are going on. So I love the idea of what you said about staying present and balancing the being versus doing. What are some other ways that we can achieve?
Some other things that I think about is setting the intention of what it is that you want, but releasing attachment for how it happens. So
Releasing attachment about how it happens.
like how you get there.
Oh, so
Let's say my goal, like a goal with Soulful Medicine, is to develop an ever-growing membership of women and community and doing these rituals together, things like that, right? So that's like my vision, right? And then I come up with, okay, my strategy, my plan. I love strategy. It's okay, I'm going to do this, that, and that. And then what happens is like you start executing on the plan, right? And you're going to usually come up against the things that don't work. Like when you create an amazing program, you're like, this is going to be amazing. I've done this before. I've up-leveled it. Here it is. And then 0 sales, right? Like you're like, wait a minute. Like,
and they're still doing that every once in a while. After 18 years, we become jaded or insensitive, whatever. But as you said, setting the attention and also not being vested in the outcome. Okay, this is what I'm doing, but however it turns out, it's not what defines me. I'm the sum total of all of my experiences, not this one thing. I'm giving my all for right now, as you said, 0 sales or no one shows up or whatever the situation is. But you're right. I absolutely agree with you about the whole idea of setting an intention of putting it out there, doing the best you can, and then moving on to something else instead of obsessing over how is it going to turn out? Why didn't it turn out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to me, releasing attachment to me is where the stress comes. If I'm attached to how it ends if I'm attached to it needs to be this way or that way, that's where I can get stressed out. If I unattach and say, this is my intention of what I want to create, a loving, high vibe group of women, right? If that's my intention of what I want to keep growing and creating, and then how it unfolds and how it evolves is also a ride for me. Like I may think it may look this way and it turns out to be that way. And as long as it's that thing, Lena's faith plus works. I feel like I'm really good at that works part. You want me to do something, God? I'm on it. Task done. Like I manifest no tomorrow. The faith part is what gets to be like my balance of being and doing, right? It's super work. I've nailed that. Like for 53 years, I'm like, I'm a worker, right? Being faith-filled, being present, being like love embodied, right? It's like I'm growing that muscle to get the balance. And to me, setting intention but releasing attachment comes in with that faith that it's all in divine time. It's working out for you. You're not behind. That's a big one for me. Talk about stress. Like I stress out when I'm like, I'm behind. Like I need to move faster. Why isn't it already done?
Our self-imposed timelines. We both book ourselves. No one who's going to come in and fire us if we don't do it by that time. That's one of the biggest things I had to learn to let go of because I had worked in corporate America 25 years and there were always deadlines and timelines. And I suffered from the imposter syndrome. I just knew any minute somebody was going to come in and fire me for what? I don't know. But it kept paranoia of the clients being back then the youngest manager, the only female, and the only African-American in the room. And as I worked up the stages, I'm getting to the director and C-suite level, it was still that case. And even though I was promoted and went up those, I still have that imposter syndrome that any minute they were going to find out what, I don't know, but whenever it was they were going to find out, they were going to say, okay, that's it, you're out of here. I had dreams about it. And I didn't stop having those dreams and thinking about those things until I left corporate America and realized that could never happen again because I worked for myself. But when I was peeling back the layers to figure out why did I feel that way in the first place? Because I worked hard for it. I trained for it. I was educated for it. What was really going on? And so when I think about ways to begin to set our intentions and achieve them and everything else, I also think about the idea of just being well in terms of how we think about ourselves.
The word that comes to me as you're speaking is worthiness. And that's also something, I think that's just a human experience to feel not enough, even though we're born worthy, right? There isn't anything else I need to do in order to be worthy, to be in the room, right? But culturally, we're conditioned that we need to do something in order to feel that worthiness. That's another whole way I release the stress. I keep reminding myself, I'm born worthy. God's proud of me because I'm showing up every day.
I can born worthy. Yeah. Yes. I think in midlife also, we have a tendency, for whatever reason, with all of our wisdom and experiences that we've gone through, to not give ourselves grace, to hold ourselves accountable and responsible for every single thing that happens, not just to us, but those that are attached to us somehow or other. Yeah. And sometimes I'll be talking to my kids. I have 4 daughters and they're all in their 30s and 40s. In fact, right now, as we speak, one of them's on a plane to go to meet her fiance's family in South Africa. And she was getting on the plane and she had forgotten something. And she lives in Miami, I'm in California. And she'd forgotten something. I said, oh my goodness, I should have reminded you because we talked about this last week. And she says, Mom, this is not about you. She did. 41 years old, and she lives 3,000 miles away. And here right now, I'm thinking, oh, I should have done. Why is it that we as women have a tendency to do that, to feel not extend ourselves grace?
So interesting you say that because I've written in my code, I give grace to myself and others to remind myself, like, give yourself grace. I give grace to myself and others. And it's so interesting. It's the mom guilt. That's what I feel like I would put it in a label of mom guilt. And it's another unlearning process. It also, I think, stems from the same core of not enoughness. I feel like mom guilt is, I should have done that. Like I should have covered that base, like trying to be enough, whether it's like being enough for your child or being enough as a daughter, like for my dad that just passed. Those are always the things that come up. It's, did I do enough? Was I there enough? Did he feel my love enough? And I'm always like, ew, it's the same thing. It's the core human experience of never feeling enough. And everybody feels that way. So that's another way I just release the stress of, oh, there she is again. There she is. She thinks she's not enough. And give myself grace. I give grace to myself and others. I also think probably like your kids, quote unquote, even though they're adults now, they probably are really good about giving your lessons back to you. So I did that recently all the time. So I did that recently with one of my daughters and she's, Mom. And I'm like, oh, you hear it. Like, she'll just pause and be like, Mom. And I'm like, I got it. Mom guilt.
Yeah, isn't that interesting how how you begin to switch roles as you age, and they become, sometimes as my girlfriends and I talk about, we laugh with each other and say, oh my gosh, it's amazing that we were even able to raise our children because we know nothing.
Yeah.
We know nothing because they know everything. But then again, that's age appropriate because when I was in my 30s and early 40s, I thought I knew everything as well. And then come to find out, no, I'm in my late 60s and I realize how much I don't know, how much more there is to learn. So it depends on what stage that you're in. And do you believe in the midlife stage that we have a tendency to question ourselves more? Does that cause more stress? This questioning and second guessing ourselves and wondering, is this the right thing? Is that the right thing?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of stress comes through, I think of midlife as a transition. It's almost like a passageway. Like I'm going from one shore and arriving at another shore. And along that passageway, there's so much uncertainty. There's so much change. There can be change in relationships, like I just experienced with my dad, right? Now I get to connect with him in spirit, but I can't pick up the phone and hear his voice. So that's change. There's change in identity, right? In terms of if my kids aren't in my home, am I still a mother? Or like, how is my mother role change? Or with work, like working with women who are transitioning from their corporate career, either into a passion project or maybe just into being. Talk about that. And so what a concept. I'm just going to be. And so I feel like that can cause a lot of stress unless you understand that like midlife is about transition. It is about another evolution of self. It is about coming of age into your wisdom where you've experienced enough life, you know, that, for instance, you can feel profound grief. I thought I had a lot of grief. And then this is like another level of grief I've never felt. Yeah. And so I feel like that just, it can cause stress if you think you're doing something wrong. If you think it's not supposed to be this way, if you should all over yourself and should all over other people, that's stressful. Versus if you just accept, wow, I guess this is what the ride really is. Not trying to fix things, I think, is another big thing. Just being with people.
Which is another thing that I think is somewhat of a midlife trait, because we're thinking that by this time, everything should be like this and this. And if it's not, we're just going to make it. And that is stressful, because by that time, the individuals that are involved in your life, they've all grown and gotten older too, and they have their own ideas of what it looks like. It's really interesting, the whole idea in midlife, that part of the transformation is learning how to be okay with staying in your lane. My youngest, when she was 31, I think she was about 29. She's 33 now, but she decided to relocate to be with her husband-to-be because they were expecting a child in the middle of the pandemic. He was living in Texas and she was in California, and she just decided this is where she wanted to be. And me and my whole family, my daughters, my husband were like, that's crazy. You're 8 months pregnant. It's the middle of COVID. And who's going to take you? What doctor in the middle of the stage of pregnancy? But you know what? She was determined to do it. And she did. She found a doctor. They found a larger home. She did all this stuff before she delivered. And I couldn't believe it. But you know what? That was her journey to take. And no matter, and she's the youngest, so we're always speaking into her life all the time. And she finally stopped that. And so when she got to Texas, I was still trying to figure out what I could do to help, because she had the baby and she still had her other son there and all these other different things. So finally, when she got pregnant again, a year or two later, it's the first time I've not been there before the birth. In fact, she had the birth while taking a shower. And I'll never forget this. The phone's ringing, I pick it up, and my worst nightmare, there's FaceTime, a picture where I can see uniformed pants, and I can hear people in the background, and I'm like, what is going on? She's, Mom, I just had the baby, and the EMTs are here, and I was like, whoop. And then that's when I said, okay, there's no way, unless I can transport myself, that I can physically be here. Gone are the days of helicoptering parenting. I know I've got 4 daughters in 3 different states. I just can't do it anymore. Because up to that point, if she was going to, I would have been on a plane. That's when I realized that I needed to make some changes in terms of staying in my lane and allowing my loved ones to continue the life's journey that God has placed them on. I may have my opinion about it, but the bottom line is, it's their journey to take, just like I had many journeys that I had to take without my mom because she died so young. So I think that's one of the powerful lessons you learn in midlife.
Yes, I love that, staying in your lane. And I also think about God's reign. God's got the reins on this. Like, the lane is here and God's got the reins. So I think right now, I feel my kids are college and high school. So I have one here. I call them birdies in my nest. One birdie in my nest. But 2 are really close by. And I feel that tension sometimes of, you can't land everyone anymore. And so it is about releasing control. And that too, like, trying to control the situation is also what causes stress. Whereas when in your story that I just heard, I was like, Lennis just rode it. Like, she just flowed the wave there. Like, babies are being born. And it's this, God's got this. That's what it feels like.
That's right. That was it. God was like, okay, so now what are you going to do? Are you going to finally, there's nothing you can do. She's in a shower, no clothes on, sprinklers in the bathroom with the baby still connected to her leg, talking to you on FaceTime, showing you the baby. It's so funny because when she came on, the first thing I saw was a pant leg, and then I saw this thing. It's like, it's Zuri. It's like,
oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I'll never forget that, because that was always, it's interesting too, because many times, depending on what's going on between your 2 ears, we can manifest as and everything that I thought that could possibly happen that would be stressful and not good actually did happen. But she went through it, because my wisdom told her, I know these things are going to happen, but she went through it like a champ, and it made her a better mother, a better woman. I totally respect my youngest daughter. All my daughters, they are full-grown women making decisions. And I have finally learned just to step back, finally at 68, to step back and say, okay. And occasionally, with all adult children or children in general, they make these decisions and you're like, okay, that's really not a big decision. I already know how this is going to end up, but I'm not going to say anything because it's their journey, just like our journeys.
Yes, the visual that I have for that is my job is not to prevent my child from, if they're little, like running down the street and tripping and falling. My job is to allow them to fall. If they're going to fall, let them fall, and then be right there by their side and say, how can I help you? How can I support you? How can we get through this? Yeah, trusting in the process of it all. It's just so inherent. We want to try to prevent things. That's just like parenting little kids, because if we do that all the time, it's like you want to try to prevent everything. I work with a lot of parents with very young kids in my pediatric practice, and you can just see them, because I was there, where you just try to control everything, what they're eating, how they're resting, like everything. You just want to control it. And at one point you're just like,
that brings to mind one of the things, because I was a control freak too, with 4 daughters, all close together in age. One of the things that I would do is that when we were cleaning up the room, I would even organize their toys, the little people on their shelf, to make sure the little people were with the right toy set and the Barbies were clothed. And my girlfriends would be like, "What are you doing?" Because 15 minutes later, it's going to be their own thing anyway. And I don't know what it was. To me at that time, I was trying to control everything because I didn't want to have any more surprises because of the surprise of his death. And that's really where the antidotal part of my anxiety came from, was always trying to control the outcome, no matter what.
Makes so much sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what anxiety really is. It's feeling a loss of control. That's basically, I feel out of control. So you try to control what you can. Yeah.
So in your time of working with women, you mentioned earlier about the importance of fun. And how can women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s make midlife the most fun era ever? Because I tell you, I hear so many women talk about how we first starts with the idea when we're teenagers, awaiting the curse, okay? The spring periods. And now is living in fear of menopause. It's like, why can't we just embrace that these actually things aren't happening to us? They're happening for us. What do we do to help women realize that, or help everyone realize it's at this stage of life, that this really could be and is the best year ever, the best era ever in their lives?
If I had to use one word, I would say fascinating. So if you observe your child or someone, right, in extraordinary behavior, like they should not be doing that, is what your mind's saying. You're like, wow, that's fascinating, right? It allows you to just lean in, like, wow, that's fascinating. And there's not a judgment to it. That's what I like about fascinating. There isn't a judgment. It's just, wow, that's fascinating. Wow, that's fascinating. What does that mean? Or how can I see myself in that? It just opens up a door. So I love like fascinating in terms of, wow, that's fascinating in terms of other people's behavior, extraordinary experiences. You could even use it on body changes, right? Like a new something pops up and you're like, wow, that's fascinating. To try to accept what is, right? Rather than trying to push it and poke it away, whether it's something on your body, whether it's a challenging relationship that you're in, or whether, something happens in the career, like an unexpected shift. And you're like, wow, that's fascinating. You just lean in with that one word. I think it gives you it usually makes people laugh when I first say it. And then you can teach yourself to laugh.
Yeah, I like that. Fascinating. That really puts it in perspective. And it's been really fascinating talking to you, Dr.
Oh, thank you.
Your approach to midlife and your approach to how you integrate your practice with helping women who in your practice, were they right there? And many women, when they have the young children, a lot of them, because women are having children later, they are in that midlife thing where they're trying to get themselves together, but they're still raising their kids too. That's fascinating. Just a component. And for all of you who are listening, I really encourage you to go ahead and click on the link there about Dr. Sue and what it is that she does. She has a survey or questionnaire that you can take to help you make some recognitions and some aha moments in terms of where you are in your midlife transition. Thanks so much for being here on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's been wonderful having you here today.
Oh, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much, Lena.
You're welcome. And thank you to all of you for listening. I know you could listen to any podcast. There's 50 million of them out there, but I do appreciate that you have helped me to become the top 5% of podcasts in the world. Of course, there's 3 million podcasts out there. Yeah, it's a great gratifier because I love what I do. And I love talking to all of these wonderful women who really do care about how you vibe, how you stay vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered. Thanks so much for listening. Please don't forget to comment and share the podcast with someone else that you love who you think wants to vibe. Have a fantastic day, everybody. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.